Please listen very carefully for the next few minutes. Understanding what I'm about to share could protect your entire life savings and, more importantly, give you back your peace of mind. 2 weeks ago, a 78-year-old woman named Carol sat in my office, her hands trembling so much she had to clasp them together in her lap. She had just drained her savings account of $3,200. She paid it to a debt collector for an old medical bill that belonged to her husband, who had passed away 3 years prior. She brought the letter with her, and it was a masterclass in intimidation. It was printed on paper with an aggressive, thick red border designed to look like an official government document. Stamped across the top in bold, capital letters were the words, "Final notice before legal action." But the part that truly terrified her was a single line of text near the bottom. It referenced her home address, the same home she and her husband had lived in for 40 years, and it called it a property asset under review. She looked at me, her voice barely a whisper, and said, "I've worked my whole life to pay my bills on time. I couldn't bear the thought of them putting a lien on my house or embarrassing me in front of my neighbors. I just wanted it to go away." She did what millions of honest, hard-working seniors would do. She paid it. She sacrificed a piece of her security to make the fear stop. Here's the part that should make you angry. Here's the part that keeps me up at night. Carol didn't legally owe a single penny of that debt. The debt was so old that, by law, it was completely unenforceable. The statute of limitations had long since expired. The law was 100% on her side, but the debt collector was counting on one simple, powerful thing: that she wouldn't know it. They weren't collecting a debt, they were harvesting her fear. This video is for every senior who has ever felt their heart sink when the phone rings from an unknown number. It's for anyone who has lost sleep staring at the ceiling, worrying about a threatening letter sitting on the kitchen table. Debt collectors and the scammers who pretend to be them hope you'll feel isolated. They hope you'll be confused by the legal jargon and too scared to fight back. Their entire business model profits from your fear and your silence. But today, you are not alone. I'm a consumer protection attorney, and for the last 15 years, I've dedicated my practice to one thing: defending seniors from predatory tactics just like the ones used against Carol. I've seen these tricks, I've heard these threats, and I've fought these companies in court. In this video, I am going to be your attorney. I will walk you through the 5 fundamental rights that give you, the senior citizen, all the power when dealing with a debt collector. These aren't suggestions or loopholes. These are legal shields forged in federal law that they cannot break through. Once you understand them, the entire dynamic shifts. You are no longer the prey, and make sure you stay for right number 5. It's the one they truly don't want you to know about. It's not just a defensive move. It's the one that allows you to turn the tables and actually sue them for harassment and illegal practices. It's the secret they pray you never, ever discover. So find a comfortable seat. If any part of Carol's story sounds familiar, if you've ever felt that same knot in your stomach, please let me know in the comments below. Your story matters, and it helps others know they aren't alone. And finally, please take 1 second and hit that like button right now. It tells the system that this is vital information, and it helps get this video in front of more seniors who desperately need to hear it. All right, let's build your defense. The first legal shield in your arsenal is perhaps the most fundamental, and it's one that collectors despise. It is your absolute right to proof, legally known as debt validation. Think about it. A stranger calls you or sends a letter demanding thousands of dollars. Your first instinct, born from a lifetime of integrity, might be to figure out how to pay it. But the law says your first step should be something else entirely. It should be to say, calmly and firmly, prove it. Under a powerful federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or FDCPA, you have the right to demand that the collector provide you with validation of the debt. They can't just say you owe money. They have to show you the paperwork. Here's how it works. When you first receive a communication from a collector, you have a 30-day window to send them a letter requesting validation of the debt. This isn't just any letter. It's a legal tool. In it, you should state that you are disputing the debt and that you want them to provide proof, such as the name of the original creditor, the amount you supposedly owe, and verification that they are licensed to collect in your state. The moment they receive that letter, a legal firewall goes up. All collection activities must stop. No more phone calls, no more letters. They cannot contact you again until they have mailed you the proof. It's like asking a contractor for their license before you let them work on your house. If they can't produce it, they don't get to touch your property. Many collection agencies, especially those that buy old zombie debt for pennies on the dollar, don't actually have this paperwork. They bought a spreadsheet with names and numbers, and they are hoping your fear will make you pay without ever asking for the receipt. Sending a debt validation letter calls their bluff, and you would be astonished at how often the collector simply disappears, moving on to an easier target who doesn't know their rights. Now, once you've demanded proof, what about the constant, nerve-wracking harassment? The phone ringing at dinner, the endless stream of intimidating letters. This brings us to your second unbreakable right, the right to silence. You have the legal power to turn off the noise. You can force them to stop contacting you. This is accomplished with another simple but mighty legal tool, a cease and desist letter. This letter does exactly what it sounds like. You write to the debt collector and you state very simply that you do not want them to contact you again. That's it. You don't have to give a reason. You don't have to admit to the debt. In fact, you should never admit to an old debt in writing. You just have to state your demand. I always recommend sending this letter via certified mail with a return receipt requested. This gives you undeniable proof that they received your instruction. Once a debt collector receives your cease and desist letter, the law is incredibly strict. They are legally allowed to contact you only 2 more times. Once, to confirm they have received your request and will stop all further communication, and a second time to notify you if they are taking a specific legal action like filing a lawsuit. That's it. The daily calls, the threats, the psychological warfare, it all has to end. This right puts the control of communication squarely back in your hands. It gives you the breathing room to think, to plan, and to consult with a professional without being under constant assault. Let me be clear. You are allowed to demand peace. You are not causing trouble by asking for silence. You are exercising a federally protected right. This leads us to the third and, for many seniors, the most important right of all. This is the one that protects your very livelihood. It's the right to protected income, which I call the Social Security Shield. This is the legal truth that should have protected Carol from ever paying that $3,200. It's the knowledge that debt collectors pray you never learn, They want you to believe that if you don't pay, they can reach into your bank account and take everything. They want you to imagine your Social Security check disappearing, your pension being seized, leaving you with nothing. This is their most powerful weapon, the fear of total financial ruin. But it is in most cases a complete and utter bluff. Federal law explicitly protects certain types of income from being garnished by common creditors. This means for debts like credit card bills, old medical bills, or personal loans, they cannot touch these funds. What funds are protected? Let's be very specific. Your Social Security benefits are protected. Your Veterans Affairs benefits are protected. Federal employee and railroad retirement pensions are protected. Your disability payments are protected. The law sees these funds as your essential lifeline, and it has built a fortress around them. When these funds are directly deposited into your bank account, the bank is required by law to automatically identify and protect an amount equal to 2 months of your benefits. They cannot freeze it or turn it over to a creditor for these common types of debt. So, the threat that terrified Carol, that they would put a lien on her house or seize her assets, was hollow. Her income was shielded by federal law. They couldn't touch her Social Security. They couldn't garnish her bank account below that protected threshold. They were selling her a nightmare that the law says cannot come true. You have worked your entire life. You have paid into these systems. This money is your security, and the law is designed to ensure it stays that way. But the law's protection doesn't end there. It also recognizes that time itself can be a shield. This brings us to your fourth fundamental right, one that was at the very heart of Carol's situation: the right of time, legally known as the statute of limitations. Every debt has an expiration date for legal action. Think of it like a gallon of milk. After a certain date, it goes bad. For a debt, this means that after a specific period, a collector loses the right to successfully sue you for it. The debt might still exist on paper, but their most powerful tool, the threat of a lawsuit, is gone. It becomes legally unenforceable. This time, limit varies by state and by the type of debt, but for common things like credit card bills or medical debt, it's often between 3 and 6 years. Now, this is where you must be incredibly careful, because collectors have a devastatingly effective and sneaky trick to get around this. It's called the reset trap, and it's why you should never, ever make a small payment on an old debt just to make them go away. Here's how they do it. A collector will call you about a 7-year-old debt, one that is long past its legal expiration date. They know they can't sue you, but they won't tell you that. Instead, they might sound friendly, understanding. They'll say something like, "Look, we know things are tough. The original debt was $2,000, but if you can just make a small, good faith payment of $50 today, we can work out a plan." It sounds reasonable, it sounds like a lifeline, but it is a trap. The moment you make that small payment, in many states, you have just acknowledged the debt as valid. You have reset the clock on the statute of limitations. That 7-year-old, legally, dead debt is now brand new again, and they can now sue you for the full original amount plus interest and fees. They baited you with a $50 offer just to regain the legal power to come after you for thousands. They turned your act of good faith into a legal weapon against you. This is why you must be vigilant. If a debt is old, your first move should never be to pay. It should be to investigate. So far, we have discussed your legal shields, the right to demand proof, the right to demand silence, the shield that protects your income, and the power of time. These are all defensive tools designed to protect you. But the law doesn't just ask you to defend yourself. It also gives you a sword. This brings us to the fifth and final right, the one that truly turns the tables and makes predatory collectors nervous. This is your right to fight back. The same federal law we've been discussing, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, FDCPA, doesn't just set rules for collectors to follow. It gives you, the consumer, the power to sue them when they break those rules. This changes everything. It means you are not helpless. You are not just a target. You are a citizen with the power to hold these companies accountable in a court of law. What kind of behavior allows you to fight back? The FDCPA is very clear about this. It outlaws any conduct that is harassing, abusive, or deceptive. For example, did a collector call you repeatedly before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. in your local time? That's a violation. Did they threaten you with jail time or arrest? Let me be absolutely clear. You cannot be arrested for failing to pay a common consumer debt like a credit card or a medical bill. That threat is not only a lie, it is an illegal act. Did they lie to you about the amount you owe, inflating the balance with illegal fees? That's a violation. Did they curse at you, use obscene language, or threaten you with violence? That is a violation. One of the most common and damaging violations is when they discuss your debt with unauthorized third parties. They cannot call your neighbor and say, "We're trying to collect a debt from John Smith next door." They cannot tell your son or daughter the details of your financial situation. Your debt is a private matter, and the law protects that privacy. If they cross that line, they have broken the law. And here is the most powerful part of this right. If a debt collector violates the FDCPA, you can sue them for statutory damages of up to $1,000, plus any actual damages you suffered because of their illegal actions, things like emotional distress or wage loss. But most importantly, the law includes a fee-shifting provision. This means that if you win your case, the debt collector who broke the law may be required to pay your attorney's fees. This is the great equalizer. It means that you can get a skilled consumer protection attorney to represent you, often with no out-of-pocket cost, because they know they will get paid by the collection agency when they win. It allows anyone, regardless of their income, to stand up to a multi-million-dollar corporation. This is how you go from being the hunted to the hunter. You are no longer just defending against their attacks. You are holding them accountable for their own illegal behavior. And that simple fact is what changes the entire game. The power of a debt collector is an illusion. It's a house of cards built on your fear and your silence. Today, you've been given the tools to blow that house down. Remember the rights you now hold. They are your shield and your sword. The right to demand proof, which forces them to show their cards or fold. The right to silence, which gives you back control of your own home and your own peace. The shield yet for your income. The unbreakable fortress that federal law builds around your Social Security and your pension. The power of time, which turns their old expired claims into dust. And finally, the right to fight back, which transforms you from the target into the one holding them accountable. Knowledge is your armor. With it, the threatening letters lose their sting. The aggressive phone calls lose their power. You understand that their loudest threats are often their emptiest bluffs. You have worked your entire life to build a secure retirement. You have saved, you have sacrificed, and you have earned your peace of mind. Do not let a predatory company hiding behind a desk hundreds of miles away intimidate you out of it with lies and illegal tactics. You are not a victim. You are a citizen protected by the law, and now you know how to use it. If this video helped you, please take a moment and share your biggest takeaway in the comments below. What right were you most surprised to learn about? Your comment might be the one that gives another person the courage to stand up for themselves. Reading your stories helps everyone feel less alone in this fight. And if you want more straightforward legal advice to protect you and your family, please subscribe to this channel. We are building a community here dedicated to empowerment through knowledge. Finally, I ask you to do one last thing. Please think of one person in your life, a parent, a grandparent, a neighbor, a friend from church, someone who might be vulnerable. And please share this video with them. Sending it could be the 5-minute action that saves them from making the same heartbreaking mistake that Carol did. It could protect their life savings. Thank you for watching. Stand tall, know your rights, and never let anyone make you feel powerless again.